Hey everybody, today we're sharing practical advice to help you use the work you are doing to make more impact and improve the world. Today we've got Gabrielle and Brian from the Purpose Company, and I'll just pass it over to you all, let you introduce yourselves.
Hey, well, thanks for having us on. We're very, very excited today. We are both best-selling authors. We've got a new book coming out called The Purpose Factor, and we get to spend a lot of our time with leaders and organizations talking about how do you find purpose, how do you apply purpose, and how do you use it in your everyday lives.
Yeah, purpose seems like such an important thing, and I love that we're going to have this conversation. First thing I want to know is, why does purpose even matter?
It's a really good question, and it's one that I think we've been discovering over the last 4 or 5 years. We've been working on all of our research surrounding purpose, and it really became real for me just in the last 2 years why purpose is so important. My grandmother on my dad's side passed away after a long battle with a form of Parkinson's disease, and I'm 31, going on 32 this month, and I was asked to put together a eulogy for my grandmother along with my father, and putting together that eulogy, she passed away just over the age of 90. Putting together that eulogy made me really think about how precious life is, how quickly 5 years goes by, and how quickly even a decade goes by. It seems to me that my 20s felt like a blur when I look back on them. And I was also in the process of writing the book that Gabrielle just mentioned as I was writing the eulogy, and I started thinking about the preciousness of time. And I started to wonder, how long does it take to live just say 1% of your productive life? So I started to do some research, and average individual in America lives to about 78 years old, and average individual starts contributing to society at age 20. And when you look at that, that's about 58 years that you have an opportunity to make an impact on the world around you and the people around you. And when you do the math, it takes just 7 months to live just 1% of your productive life. And that really made it real for me. Because I think when we're young, we start to think open-ended proposition here, got all the time in the world to make a difference. But really, there's a little bit more urgency to that when you realize that 7 months is 1%. And when you look at it that way, that's why purpose matters so much. And it's why purpose literally is the filter that you need to make all your decisions through, your career decisions, your, if you're going to change careers, that's the filter that you need to look at your life. And that's why it matters so much, is because the time we have here is so precious, and the opportunity to impact people is so precious, and purpose is the best starting point because it gives you the most clarity.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's, a really amazing way to think about it, as you're talking about like the eulogy, or what would someone say at my eulogy? So purpose sounds really important, but is purpose something that you just discover, or is purpose something you create? And how do you go about either that discovery or that creation?
Yeah, that purpose discovery, when we were growing up, I'm sure like most folks who are participating in this session, people were telling us, find your purpose. And it's really great advice to give a class of graduates, or, a team you're trying to pump up, or, folks who are trying to get excited about something. But it really doesn't tell you what to do. So we were kind of wandering through life, bumping through life, thinking, maybe we should go find it in a sunset, or maybe, someone's gonna like meet us on a plane and tell us this is what we're supposed to do, like a strange traveling Yoda. Like, we didn't know what it was that purpose even meant. We just knew we were supposed to find it. And so for us, we are, nerds. We were looking, when someone tells us find something, we're like, well, how? And we kept asking questions. And so individually, even before we had met and gotten married, he and I were both kind of on this purpose discovery, because
separate each other, but at the same time. Yeah.
It was crazy. And so we had these moments where we realized that if purpose is something that is what everything rises and falls on, that's really what we call the purpose axiom. Is purpose is what everything rises and falls on purpose. Is if that's true, then there has to be a process of discovery. You can't just, create purpose for yourself. I think that you can find meaning in things, but purpose is what you have inside of you to help other people. And so we started to look at ancient principles and philosophers and modern motivators, and we wanted to see what they all had in common. And what we did was we found that they all had these kind of 4 elements in common of what we call the purpose factor, which is what we wrote a whole book about, is about how do you string together different elements of who you are. We call it natural advantage, so the things that you're kind of naturally born to do, the role you tend to play, your acquired skills, things that you either went to school for or have developed an expertise or experience in the marketplace, your pull passion, that problem in the world that you want to solve, and your origin story, which is my favorite part because it's all about your differentiator. You can, as employers, most of us look at what are the skills that people have, and maybe, you know, are you passionate about the job, which don't even get me started about the word passion and how wrong we use it. But your story is really impactful. It's why you do what you do. It's the perspective that you have on life. And so when we started to go on our own purpose journey, we realized if purpose is as important as everyone says that it is, and that we believe that it is, it can't be something that's left to luck. There's got to be a process to find it.
Yeah. I love that, you know, from the innate talents and capabilities you have to what you've acquired to your origin story. So I feel like you're giving me a good answer to this next question in that, but I want to just clarify a little bit. So how does purpose contribute to your career?
Yeah. So when we started to look at purpose, most of us spend between 30 and 45% of our life working, which is amazing.
A lot of time.
That's a lot of time of our entire life. If most of us live to 78, that's just kind of American average lifespan. 30 to 45% of our time is spent at work. And so if you're saying purpose is important, but a lot of people believe myths like, you know, my purpose is just my family. If I'm just providing for my family, that's enough. Well, what goes beyond your family? Are you having an impact just beyond the 3 or 4 or 5 people that you're connected with? Some people think, well, my purpose is for when I retire. Well, what if retirement looks different? Or what if you don't make it to retirement? There are so many elements that are outside of our control. Some people are like, well, my purpose is what I do outside of work. So maybe I volunteer or involved in my faith group and, you know, I want to give back. Well, what if you were able to take those superpowers of using what you have to help other people to make your workplace a better place, to serve the customers who you interact with or the vendors or your other coworkers? And when you realize that purpose is what you have inside of you to help other people, you're so empowered to start to connect the dots and who you're interacting with every day, how you're helping them, and finding fulfillment. Because what we say is purpose is what you have inside of you to help other people, but fulfillment is what happens when you use what you have inside of others, what you use inside of you to help those other people. So it's not this, you know, crazy thing to, you know, or lucky if you are fulfilled. It's really, again, based off of a system. I felt like Brian wanted to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I think she brought up a really good point. You know, some folks are like, well, I volunteer, let's say, at a food bank or a soup kitchen or something like that, and that's my purpose. But they have this, and then they say, but my day job, the one that I don't like very much and makes me miserable and all those things, they couch their job as the kind of this miserable thing over here in the corner that they have to do, and then what they do in terms of volunteer work as their purpose. But really, purpose isn't a vocation. Purpose is about application. So in other words, once you know your purpose, what you have inside of you to help others, which is actually your source of fulfillment, you got to take what you have, use it to help other people, and that's where fulfillment comes from. It becomes a filter. It's not your job. It's not your position. It's not your title. It becomes the filter by which you make all of your decisions. So it helps you look at your career in a way that says, all right, my colleagues, my manager, and the people that I serve, those are the people that I have the opportunity to get fulfillment through. And I have to help them experience some kind of marketplace transformation. And a marketplace transformation is simply this. It's, I'm going to be the mechanism by which somebody's problem is solved. I'm going to be the mechanism by which somebody's need is solved or somebody's hurt is healed. That's a marketplace transformation. And when you see it like that, it's not about your vocation. No matter the job you're in, you're looking for opportunities to take what you have inside of you, those skills, that natural advantage, that passion that you have, that problem in the world that you want to be a part of solving. You can even take your origin story, the good and bad things that happened to you over the course of your life, and use that to inspire someone and help them solve a problem. So that's the beautiful thing about purpose. You know, we get asked all the time, you know, is it about my job? Do I need to change jobs? Do I need to leave my job? That kind of stuff. It's the wrong question. It's, how do I take your purpose and help you see it as a filter by which you live out the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I love that. You know, it's how you're explaining. It's almost like the purpose is the glasses you view the world through, and then you can view, you know, the work that you're doing in that different kind of a way. So now that you know your purpose and we have established that it's probably the most fundamental thing about your life, what's the relationship between purpose and leadership?
This is a really important question. And one of our favorite motivators, I think I grew up in the back seat of my parents' car listening to John Maxwell. And at the age of 16, 17 years old, bit of a nerd. You were listening to Jim Rohn in the back of your mom's Cadillac,
cool
I think.
In high school.
So yeah, no, neither one of us were. So John Maxwell actually has a phrase that he says all the time. He says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I agree to a certain extent after purpose. And here's why. I think everything rises and falls on purpose first, then leadership. The relationship between purpose and leadership is this. If a leader knows their purpose, they're a secure leader. If a leader doesn't know their purpose, they tend to be an insecure leader. And we all know the traits of a secure leader versus an insecure leader. An insecure leader tends to micromanage, right on top of your back and say, did you get that done? Those kinds of things. That's kind of the traits of a leader who doesn't know who they are. No. Now, a secure leader knows their purpose. And here's what happens, right? Because what's the definition of purpose? Purpose is what you have inside of you to help others. So when a leader knows that, now a leader isn't inward looking. How can I benefit me? How can I climb the ladder? How can I use my people to climb the ladder? It's not about that. A leader who is secure, a leader who knows their purpose and knows the definition of purpose, knows that the interest of their employees, their team members, and their customers must always come before their own interests. But at the end of the day, if you're using your purpose to help others, you're experiencing fulfillment. Yeah. So in other words, you get what you want, kind of like Zig Ziglar says, you can get what you want if you'll help enough other people get what they want. So the relationship between leadership and purpose is very important, and everything rises and falls on purpose. In fact, you know, we work with leaders all the time, whether in an individual context or speaking or through our programs or whatever. And one in particular I'm reminded of that I worked with last year personally owns a very well-to-do gym in Florida. And he was going through not just a leadership crisis and things like that, he was going through a purpose crisis. And when we helped him understand his purpose as a leader, it solved all the other issues, just like dominoes, right? So he discovered his purpose. He started treating his people better. Then what happened? Well, his people started treating the customers better. Then what happened? According to a national survey of gyms, 750 gyms nationally, in 1 year, he went from slot 255 to the top 5 because he solved the purpose issue first and became a more secure leader. So that's the relationship between the two.
Yeah. That makes, again, just as you're talking about it, my mind's like kind of going through leaders from the past and different people. And I think you've hit it, like, cause I could talk to one of my, you know, old bosses, and I'm thinking about two particularly. And I had one who just always micromanaging, always on me about everything. And when we would have those deeper conversations of like, why are we doing this? Why did we get up for work today and all that? Like, he usually was just like, oh, it's just a paycheck. And then I had my other boss who, very empowering, was always looking for the best solutions, loved to be challenged. And when I would talk to him and say, you know, why are we doing this? What's even the point in it? He would always come back with, we need to help other people to save more money by shopping here, or we need to help our associates. He would always tell me, we have an obligation to lead our people to be better so that they can put a little bit more money in their pocket. And he would tell me, you know, if you could change one person's life in this store and make them a better leader and help them get a promotion, you just helped the next oncoming generations of their family forever. You help them, you help their kids may get to go to a college they never could have gone to or have something they never had. So it's not a one person you're impacting here, you're impacting all the generations to come. And so, you know, he led in that more secure type of a way. So that's just what immediately came to my mind.
That's so good. And for us, we're all about asking questions and asking the right questions. And so the process of discovering your purpose is just that, it's a discovery. But if you want to immediately have kind of that pop of purpose of what it feels like, I would encourage you to ask, who am I and who can I help? Everything comes back to
most
who
important
am I?
daily question.
Who can I help? And so every day we're asking that question. We're encouraging our team, the folks that work with. It's always who am I and who can I help? Because when you're secure in who you are and your ability to help other people, because when you go deep in finding your purpose, you would know exactly how you can help other people. And you're not waiting for permission from someone to come over and say, hey, you can go help that person. It's a duty to use what you have to help others and to think proactively about how I can help people around me. And those little transformation transactions start to happen more and more, where you're just finding, whether it's people you're working with or people who are serving you or your people in your family, every single exchange, every single conversation is an opportunity for you to be able to help other people with what you have.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting what happens the more you know your purpose. I think you asked earlier, kind of, do I discover my purpose or do I create my purpose? Mm-hmm. You look at purpose like a block of marble. Inside the block of marble, there's a statue. There's some kind of statue of David, whatever statue you want to pick, there's a statue inside the marble. But until then, it's a block of marble. Mm-hmm. So in other words, it's to be discovered, not created. Because it's already in there, you just have to chisel it away and figure out the refining parts of it. But what happens when you get closer to your purpose, it's kind of like the leader you were talking about. When you get closer to your purpose and know it really, really well, and then you ask that really key question, now that I know who I am, now I have to ask the question, who can I help with it? But what happens is, oftentimes in the world of business, we just get focused on the transactions. We get focused on making sure enough merchandise is running across the counter, that we're hitting our numbers in terms of revenue and what's the profit margin. All those questions are really important in running a successful and sustainable business. But what happens to a leader is they stop looking at the financial transactions, the monetary transactions, and they start looking at something that I like to call fulfillment transactions. And that is when a life is transformed. That's a fulfillment transaction. That means I took my purpose, my collection of things that I have to help people, and I used it to help them experience a transformation. Like what you said, did I help that associate perform better and afford college that maybe they never would have been able to afford? That's a fulfillment transaction. And the best leaders, I think the top performing leaders, they're the ones that fall in love with the fulfillment transactions, not the monetary transactions, because guess what follows fulfillment transactions? Monetary ones. They always do. And oftentimes we get them in the wrong order. We start with financial first and hope that fulfillment comes later, and oftentimes it doesn't. But if we'll start with the fulfillment transactions, the monetary will follow.
Yeah. This has been so helpful and a great way to step back and think about leadership to what I'm doing in my daily job. So I just want to say thank you to both of you so much. Where can people find more if they want to learn more?
Yeah, if they want to check out the book, it's coming out in September, but you can pre-order right now at purposefactorbook.com. We're really excited to get this in the hands of as many people as possible. It lines up the entire process of finding, using, and applying your purpose every day.
All right. Well, thank you both so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having us on.